What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new, my name is Evan and I make videos about hot stocks, dividends, and options. So if that interests you guys, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. So in today's video, we're going to look at if NIO has the potential to be the next big auto brand in China and some pretty big factors that could support them going forward. But as always, we have to take a look at the share price, and you can see today they actually hit a new high. They hit 22.56, and I think it went a little bit higher than this at the time. This is just what Robinhood is showing. And then you can see throughout the rest of the day they tapered down. Now they're back down to around $21, but that's not so bad either because their previous high was 21.05, I believe. And then yesterday they actually beat that by 1 or 2 cents, and I think they hit 21.07, at least during market hours. I wasn't able to keep a close eye on NIO in after hours, so I don't know how they performed yesterday after the market closed. But at least during normal market hours, they set a new high yesterday by a couple cents, and then they go the next day, which is today, and they hit a new high by over $1.50. So to see them pull back to the $21 range isn't so bad, because if they're pulling back to 21, that could be the new support level, and then they might just go up from here. So it's hard to say for sure because they haven't really been around this $21 mark for very long, and they haven't hit it very many times. But I could definitely see this $21 or $20 mark being support, and then they could just kind of hover around this area for a while and then start working their way back up after a couple weeks or so. But it's kind of interesting also to compare NIO to Tesla today, because NIO, even though they pulled back, they're up still 1% today, and then Tesla is up 2.5% today. But you can see Tesla's chart looks a lot more attractive because they spiked after the market opened and then they sort of maintained around that area for most of the day. Tesla has traded pretty flat around this $430 mark today. And so I think it's kind of cool to see NIO actually breaking out from Tesla's trends. Typically they follow pretty close in suit, and NIO follows Tesla's trends almost to the dot. And so it's kind of good to see them actually doing something different today. Even though they did pull back from their high, I think that's a healthy thing for NIO to do, because if they would have kept breaking up, it almost would have been inevitable that they would have pulled back quite a bit. So yesterday when NIO actually jumped, it was because a Wall Street analyst said that NIO would become the next iconic auto brand, and they were referring mostly to over in China. But that sort of explains why they spiked so much yesterday. And I think today, because they're up so much, or they were at least in the beginning of the trading day, I think they were kind of riding off the momentum from yesterday. And if you guys remember Edison Yu from the German bank, back in September, on September 8th, he set a buy rating for NIO of $24, but he actually wrote in a new note on September 29th, which was yesterday, and he wrote that investors had pushed back his initial rating, saying that the company brand doesn't draw the levels of excitement and loyalty like Tesla and other German luxury brands. And he acknowledged that there's some truth to that, but he still thinks that NIO is a relatively new company, and he believes that the perceptions of their brand are trending in the right direction. Now, I totally agree with this, because I think with NIO being so young, they were only founded in 2014, so they haven't been around as long as Tesla, but they're still making big moves that make them a very viable option and a good competitor to Tesla, at least over in China. And I think without argument, if NIO was to expand globally, especially if they are able to expand to Europe like they've been talking about, and after expanding to Europe, if they're able to bring vehicles to North America, then they'll really be a competitor with Tesla. But right now, over in China, as everybody knows, Tesla is kind of leading the way, and they're kind of the talk of the town, as you might say. But Edison Yu also said that there's compelling evidence that growing numbers of consumers see NIO as a high-quality premium brand, and that they have best-in-class technology as well as customer service. And I'm not sure where he found this statistic, but he said that 62% of NIO's customers, which is a very high rate, were referred by other customers. So I don't know how that compares to other car brands. I don't know how many customer referrals there are for other brands, but 62% seems very high, especially considering how often people refer others to buy a vehicle. At least for me, I don't hear a lot of people bragging about their vehicle to other people and recommending them to buy it. I mean, I've heard some people, but it's not very often that you hear that. And so with a 62% customer referral rating, I think that easily outdoes their competition, especially over in China. And while NIO might not yet be on Tesla's level and they can't compete with Tesla quite yet, they're still leading the way of the so-called Fab 4, which includes NIO, Xpeng, Li Auto, and WM Motors. And I believe they are the #1 competitor with Tesla. Now, they don't rank nearly as high as Tesla because Tesla delivers way more vehicles and there's just overall way more people buying Tesla vehicles. But I think NIO really has a lot going for them, especially going forward with all their new technologies and things they're working on. And for a relatively new company, NIO has come a long way in the last year, because you have to keep in mind that back in December of last year, they almost thought they wouldn't have enough money to make it through 2020. And so with those doubts, then we have this big pandemic that hits, and they were still able to make it through that. So that really shows their perseverance and shows that they can pretty much take a hit from anywhere. And obviously they're not profitable yet, but not many companies are profitable in their first few years in the market. But I think within the next coming years, they could definitely break into the profit margin, and that's when you'll see a lot more vehicles delivered, and that's when the share price will really start going through the roof. But a few things that NIO has against all their competition, and I don't know about the other 3 Chinese brands and what they have for technologies, but I don't think they have anything like NIO, at least not yet, because NIO has their battery swap stations, and then they're also implementing their battery as a service. So those are 2 things that make NIO more attractive than their competition, and for some people even more attractive than Tesla. Because if all you have to do is drive into the swap station and you get a full charge in 3 minutes, well, that's way better than having to wait 20 or 30 minutes or possibly an hour at an electric charge station with any other electric vehicle. You're just in and out in 3 minutes. And then the battery as a service really helps lower the initial cost of a vehicle that you're buying from NIO, because you're basically leasing the battery. So you're almost just buying the shell of the vehicle and then you lease the battery, because the battery for an electric vehicle is somewhere around 20 to 25% of the cost of a vehicle. So you would save that on the initial purchase, and then you would pay $145 per month. So it's almost like once you buy a NIO vehicle, you're kind of in their environment, just like if you were to buy like an Apple phone. After you buy the iPhone, you need a MacBook and you need AirPods. Well, you don't need them, but everything links up so flawlessly. Well, NIO is sort of creating that same environment. Once you buy the vehicle, especially if you lease the battery through their battery as a service, you're kind of a customer long term because you have to pay monthly to lease your battery. It's almost like the equivalent to paying gas with a normal vehicle. You could think of it like that. And the last thing that kind of puts NIO ahead of their other competitors is that they've been increasing their numbers month after month. September numbers have yet to come out, obviously, because it's not even the end of September yet. But I would definitely be surprised if they didn't deliver more than 4,000 vehicles. Because in August they almost delivered 4,000, and now their new delivery limit is 5,000, which means they could produce 5,000 vehicles in a month. And I think it could take quite a few months to get there, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see 4,000 in September. And so this really helps them stack up nicely against their competitors. But obviously they're not really competing with Tesla in terms of delivery numbers. But sometime in the future, they should be competing with Tesla, not only in terms of technologies, but also in terms of their delivery numbers, especially if they can expand globally. Now, some investors think NIO is still a pretty speculative investment, and they don't think you should load up on it. I sort of agree with this. I think they're still too new to have established a solid price point that we can all agree on, but they've definitely shown a lot of growth in the last 6 to 12 months, and that really gives a lot of investors confidence to invest in them. And not only that, but the whole EV market is growing as a whole because of all these pushes to make vehicles emission-free. So even though there's NIO and Tesla and these other EV companies, in the next few years you're definitely going to see a lot more electric vehicles being produced, not only by these EV companies, but by these big car companies as well. Some companies are already jumping into it, like BMW and Mercedes. They're already producing EV vehicles, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see other car brands jumping in as well. So taking all of this into consideration, what are you guys' thoughts on NIO, and do you think they're undervalued or overvalued? Let me know down in the comments. Also, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button because it really does help out the channel. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you back here in the next one. Bye.